Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's your host, Belmont, and I'm back with another episode of Power Vacuum. Today, I'm going to be talking about the lawsuit brought against Daniel Defense, Meta, and Activision Blizzard, specifically at Activision over the Call of Duty video game. And for those of you that don't know, what Uvalde, the Robb Elementary horrible tragedy where a psychopath locked himself in a room with children and executed children with a firearm while police stood in the hallway for well over an hour doing absolutely nothing but letting children die. It was a horrible tragedy. It is always tragic when innocents lose their lives, regardless of circumstance. And I just, wanted to say that it is a horrible tragedy. I will never name the shooter because I will not help make them famous or infamous, because that is the goal of some of these people. And they will forever be nameless assholes as far as I'm concerned. But I've got the lawsuit pulled up right here. As you can see, I'm starting on line 24, paragraph 6. And the reason I'm starting here is a couple reasons. I think this is where the lawsuit loses credibility and starts to reveal what it is they're suing over and what their line of thought is. The beginning of the lawsuit actually starts mentioning the halcyon days of advertising when Camel Joe and the Marlboro Man were selling cigarettes to children. And I'm not joking or being hyperbolic. That's literally what the beginning of the lawsuit talks about. I have no idea. Seemed completely non sequitur. I guess it's to highlight that advertising can corrupt children, even though at that time there were tons of anti-teen smoking ads everywhere. I never saw the Camel Man or the Marlboro Man, Joe Camel or the Marlboro Man as, figures for children, but whatever. But here, let me start with this, and I'll read this to you. Here's the link up here if you want to see it. And just a quick little thing. I'm going to point out before I start. I did a search through this document, and the word assault rifle appears 24 times in this document. And I'd say 20 out of those times, it's specifically in reference to the AR-15. But we'll get to that. Paragraph 6. Activision is in the wildly lucrative business of training adolescents to become gunmen. In first-person shooter franchise Call of Duty its first-person shooter franchise Call of Duty creates a vividly realistic and addicting theater of violence in which teenage boys learn to kill with frightening skill and ease. Call of Duty is a simulation, not a game. I gotta stop right there. Call of Duty is a game, not a simulation. Playing Call of Duty doesn't teach you to shoot a gun any better than Forza teaches you how to drive a car and Red Dead Redemption teaches you how to ride a horse. All right? You do not learn real world skills from playing video games. Okay? Simulators usually have advanced controls, i.e., if you're doing a flight simulator, you've got the switches and the buttons and the stick to control the plane. If you're in an actual tank simulator, there's a T-bar to hold on to steer the tank. There are the controls for firing. If you were playing Cabela is more of a training simulator, because Cabela games have an actual rifle that you hold and shoot the screen with when hunting. You might be able to convince me that that's training you how to shoot. Call of Duty uses either a mouse and a keyboard or a controller, like a PlayStation or Xbox controller. This isn't going to teach you how to shoot a gun. You want to learn how to shoot a gun, you got to pick up a gun, you got to go to a range, and you got to practice shooting at targets. That's the only way you're going to actually learn how to shoot a gun with accuracy and effectiveness. Call of Duty is not the way. Call of Duty is not a simulation. It is not going to train you how to be an elite killer. I mean, Call of Duties now have freaking jetpacks and like grappling hooks in them, things that don't actually exist in the real world application of combat. Anyway, let me go. It teaches players how to aim, reload, and fire accurately. No, it does not actually. While habituating the teenage nervous system to inflict repeated graphic violence. And though the killing is virtual, the weapons are authentic. They are designed to perfectly imitate the real life counterparts in look, feel, recoil, and accuracy. No, you're not actually holding the gun. You're not actually feeling the recoil. You're not actually feeling the pressure of the trigger. You're not feeling the heat from the powder and the gun round going off. You're not feeling any pressure from the gas kickback. And accuracy is something that requires actual training, period. You do not learn how to be an accurate marksman from a video game. That's just insane that they would actually put that in there. But this cunning form of marketing has helped cultivate a new youthful consumer base for the AR-15 assault rifle, the weapon of choice for most Call of Duty players and mass shooters. Gonna have to stop again because the AR-15 is not an assault rifle. It is a hunting rifle or a sport rifle. And as far as hunting is concerned, it is a small, medium game hunting rifle. You can hunt certain large game with it if you are incredibly accurate and you have the right type of ammunition in it. But for the most part, you're hunting, smaller deer, wild boar. You could probably hunt rabbits or hares with it. You might be able to deal with certain things that are like pesky in your area, fox, coyotes. You're not really hunting big things with that, but it's mostly a sport rifle. You take it to a range, you shoot targets, you shoot, the metal paddles, you shoot Texas stars. This is what the AR-15 is used for. It's also used for home defense because it is a very effective home defense weapon. And the choice of mass shooters, it is not the weapon of choice for mass shooters. If you looked at the statistics, I believe the weapon of choice for mass shooters is probably the Glock handgun, which is used in more mass shootings than any other weapon. Because based on the FBI statistics, a mass shooting is defined as any shooting with 4 or more victims. Okay, and the vast majority, and I mean well over 60% of all mass shootings are perpetrated with a handgun. Okay, handguns are the number one tool used in mass shootings. That's just statistically proven. This isn't even a matter that's up for debate. This will probably come up in court. Claim number 2, the weapon of choice for most Call of Duty players, also false. The AR-15 only appears in 2 or 3 Call of Duty games. And I had to go to Reddit for this one to get the facts because I am not a Call of Duty player. And as much as I dislike Reddit, it is where you get information pretty quickly and accurately from people who actually know what they're talking about in some aspects, especially with video games. You go to a video game forum on Reddit, you're going to find people that actually play the games and know what's going on. And I asked the question, I looked through the answers, and I was given a response that popularity wise, and by popularity we're referring to the guns that appear the most in the most number of Call of Duty games. The gun that appears in the most Call of Duty games is the M1911 handgun. A pistol, look at that, a handgun. It appeared in, I think the guy said, almost every Call of Duty game. It's in like 13 or 14 different Call of Duty games. The second most common gun is the AK-47, which is an assault rifle. And yeah, the AR-15 is only in 2 or 3 games. One of the games, it is actually a special like DLC gun because it's from a movie, and it's like the specific gun from a movie that you can get for a character. And it just, that's the second claim in this sentence alone, that is just absolutely misaligned and false. The AR-15 does not appear in a bunch of Call of Duty games, so it's not a weapon of choice because it's not available. I think the weapon of choice in Call of Duty is either the AK-47 or the SCAR, which is, a different type of assault rifle. And now the main claim, which is just demonstratively false, the AR-15 assault rifle. The AR-15, as I said, is not an assault rifle. What defines an assault rifle is one of two things, and that is an intermediate cartridge, which is a uh, cartridge and a round that are larger than handgun rounds but smaller than normal rifle rounds. You can probably find some places that'll show you this better than I could describe it. I could show you it if I wanted to, but I'm not going to go grab a bunch of bullets. But what effectively, the best way I can show you is an AR-15 round is roughly the size of my pinky, maybe a little smaller, where a normal rifle round is about the size of my index finger or maybe my middle finger. Yeah, that's probably more accurate. So this is about the size of a normal rifle round. This is about the size of a AR-15 round, and that's an intermediate cartridge, smaller than a rifle, bigger than a bullet pistol. And then the second requirement for an assault rifle is a selective fire. That means it goes from a semi-automatic to either a 3-round burst or a fully automatic. Some guns have all three of these. Now, for anyone that doesn't understand what that means, semi-automatic means when you pull the trigger, a round fires. That's it. You can pull the trigger and hold it down, but only that one round is going to fire. 3-round burst is exactly like it sounds. When you pull the trigger, the mechanism inside the gun allows it to fire 3 bullets in succession, 1, 2, 3, before it resets and stops from firing. Fully automatic, or automatic as it is most commonly referred to, is when you pull the trigger down and hold it, the gun will continue to fire until either you let go of the trigger or you run out of bullets. So those are the two requirements for an assault rifle. Okay, selective fire and intermediate round or intermediate cartridge. And basically where they come from is the original assault rifle, which was a German weapon made during World War II. That is just straight up called the Sturmgewehr, which is literally German for the words assault and rifle put together as one word. Sturm, assault, Gewehr, rifle, Sturmgewehr, assault rifle. So like a lot of people think, oh, an assault rifle, that's not a real thing. Oh no, assault rifles are a real thing. Assault weapons aren't. That's a term that's used in this thing too. I think it appears something like 26 times in this lawsuit. An assault weapon is a generic term that means nothing, because when it comes to a weapon, any weapon you use to assault a person has become an assault weapon, right? If you kill someone with a hammer, that's an assault hammer because the act of assaulting was committed with the hammer. If you strangle somebody with a shoelace, it's an assault shoelace, although that technically might consider it a garrote, but I don't know the specifications or requirements for that. But my point is, assault is an action for the most part. There are assault rifles. They are very specific things. HK makes assault rifles. FN makes assault rifles. AK makes assault rifles. Can an AR be modified to become an assault rifle? For the most part, illegally, yes, because modifying an assault rifle without notifying the ATF that you are doing so, modifying an AR to become an assault rifle without notifying the ATF is a crime. And if you are going to modify any weapon to become semi-automatic, from semi-automatic to 3-round burst or fully automatic, you have to fill out a ton of paperwork, notify the ATF, and they are absolutely going to put you on a watch list. And they will probably occasionally show up to your house and be like, we need to check all your weapons to make sure you haven't done any other modifications that you didn't tell us about. Because that's what the ATF will do once you've, put yourself in their sights. Don't modify your weapons, maybe. Just buy the weapons as they were intended to be used. But that is just something that really bothered me about this suit. I don't see this suit gaining a lot of traction, mostly because, like I said, in one sentence, they have 3 provenly false statements that they are using as the foundation for this lawsuit against Activision. Now, as far as Meta is concerned, it says right here, meanwhile, Meta's social media app, Instagram, now an essential accessory for every teen, offers firearm manufacturers something even Call of Duty cannot: an unsupervised channel to speak directly to minors in their homes, at school, even in the middle of the night. Now, this I just got to go ahead and say, again, bad parenting. If your child's on social media, then you need to be on social media. You need to follow your child. You need to see what it is they're interested in, see what it is they're posting about. You need to be a good parent. Being a good parent isn't being the friend of your child, it's being their guardian and their monitor, their keeper. These are phrases that a lot of people have forgotten, and it lets children just become the worst of themselves. And if you allow children to mitigate themselves, they're going to go Lord of the Flies real fucking fast, because that's what happens when children have no basis or foundation of authority. Like, children need to have authority. You cannot let them do whatever the hell they want. And that's what this boils down to for me. Like, you can't blame the social media app because the parents are just shitty and don't watch their children. You have to be a better parent. And, while this guy that perpetrated this heinous crime did it on his own, I guarantee his parents never paid attention to him. I guarantee they weren't involved in his life. They weren't looking at what he was doing. They weren't monitoring his internet history. I couldn't have gotten away with this kind of shit when I was young. Anything I did, my dad was like, "What the fuck is this? I got this email. I'm watching what you're doing online." I mean, then again, my dad was in the army and he was crazy about, security and all that kind of stuff. So he was actually watching me. And, yeah, just be a better parent. And to blame the gun manufacturer is another thing that's crazy, because these Daniel Defense weapons, they even name it right here, the DDM 4V7 AR-15. That's a $2,000 gun. And this kid had 2 of them. He had $4,000 worth of rifles, which, by the way, for the people that don't know, your average AR-15 cost between $700 and $900. So this person had 2 guns that were worth 110% of what a normal AR-15 is worth. Where he got them, I'm not sure. Well, I mean, I guess he got them. I don't know if he got them from Daniel Defense themselves or if he got them through a licensed firearm dealer. But the point is, he had to pass a background check, so the FBI knew he had the guns. And if you go and drop $4,000 on guns, shortly after you turn 18, and the FBI isn't monitoring you more closely, that's a failing on the FBI. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, why are they suing these video games? Why aren't they suing the cops? Oh, don't worry. That's coming too. Because there is a lawsuit against the police. I have it here. And this one's daunting. This is part of the reason this video didn't come out earlier, is because I wanted to do enough research to make sure I had it actually locked down what was going on. And as you can see, this lawsuit is 610 pages, because this is the full court filing, and it has all the discovery that they've been willing to post. I'm sure there's more than this, but my God, this is a heavy lawsuit, and this is what the one I'm waiting for. This is the justice. This is what's deserved. This is against the police officers and the miscommunication people. I don't know if it was the school itself or the alert system, I hadn't gotten that deep into it. I know the school is part of the problem because they were sending very confusing messages to the parents, making it seem like their children were safe and okay when they weren't. And then there were officers literally in the school, standing in the hallways, letting this guy shoot children for a fucking hour. A full hour. I think it was a little over an hour, like 66 minutes or something like that, where these cops took no action. And, if you're a police officer and you're not willing to lay down your life to protect innocents, turn your badge and your firearm in right now. Walk away from the force and never look back, because you don't deserve to be a police officer. Being a police officer used to mean something, and it really means nothing now, right? You've basically become the Stasi. You are the Gestapo. You are not the protector of the people that you used to be. You are an arm of the government, and I think it has been best said by people online that there is no crime or order. Oh man, I'm gonna mess it up. I think there's no order heinous or perverse enough that an officer would not be willing to follow it, including the murder of innocent children. And when you stand by and do nothing and let children get murdered, that's blood's on your hands too. And this is the lawsuit that I want to know. This is the one that parents should be focusing on. Should be focusing on video games. It should be focusing on social media. They shouldn't be focusing on firearm manufacturers. They should be focusing on the people who are supposed to protect your children that failed to do that. They should be focusing on the parents that let their children do whatever the hell they want with no repercussions. You should never, ever blame a video game for the actions of a person, and you should never blame the tool for the actions that it was used for, right? When people build a building, they don't go, oh man, that hammer really did a good job building this shed. No, they talk about the person. Oh, that guy built that shed. That lady helped him build that shed. She helped him shingle the roof. They're not going to go, man, that putty knife that you put the tar on with, that thing did a lot of work. No, they only talk about the tool when it's a gun. They don't even talk about knives or hammers, which kill way more people than guns in this country. But guns. They don't talk about cars, which are much more deadly than a gun. If you had a vehicle and you were a psychopath and there was a large crowd of people, you could do more damage and kill more people with a vehicle than you could with a gun in the same amount of time. Anything in the wrong hands is a deadly weapon. Anything in the wrong hands can be a terrible thing. And yeah, that's my ramblings for today. Yeah, again, I don't want to really get too deep into this one lawsuit with the police because it's 610 pages and I'm not even halfway through it. I was just like, I gotta go ahead and record this video because this is some heavy metal right here. But this lawsuit, the other one against Call of Duty, Activision Blizzard, as if Activision Blizzard hasn't had enough shit on their plate right now. Meta, as much as I don't like Meta, you can't really blame it because, the FBI uses it as a tool. So if they're on Meta, they're being watched. So maybe talk to your government officials and ask them why they don't seem to care when potential security threats mention being a potential security threat. Anyway, I'm going to put the links for these things in the description. So if you want to go read them for yourself, you can. That's all I've got for today. Belmont out.